I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. We have before us the agenda for tonight. May I have a recommended motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll support that.
Motion made by Member Dodd, seconded by Member Cotter. Any questions, any objections? Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Miss Dodd.
Yes.
Miss Cotter. I am a yes. Miss Grismkowski.
Yes.
Miss Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Before we get into the body of the agenda, I do want to remind everyone that, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for attending our Huron Valley Board of Education meeting. Our Board of Education welcomes community input and comments. A public comment section or segment is available for 15 minutes, which include both action and non-action items during section 3 of the agenda. Additional comments will take place during section 7 of the agenda unless the comment is related to an item that will be voted on. If you have any comments regarding any agenda or non-agenda items, please fill out the forms that are in the back of the room and pass them on to Ms. Cadell over here, and she will pass them on to me. Be recognized. This is not a time for us to have conversations, but an opportunity for the community to provide comments. But I will also take note, and I will also bring this forth at the next board meeting. I do know that out on our social media, it's been posted a number of times that as we have in the past, we will be having a community forum. This is an opportunity for our community to talk one-on-one with board members. These community forums will be held on October 23rd, which is a Monday, at Lakewood Elementary from 6 o'clock to 7:30, and on Tuesday, October 24th, at Heritage Elementary from 6 to 7:30. At that time, members of the Board of Education will be available to enter into a one-on-one dialogue with community members, so please take advantage of that. With that, board communications, a couple items from me, I guess, is first of all, I'd like to recognize our custodians. Today is School Custodian Appreciation Day. They, just as all members of our Huron Valley school team, play an important part in the educational opportunities for our children. Without our custodians, our schools would not be clean, would not be operational, and would have a direct effect on the achievement opportunities for our children. So on behalf of myself, along with the rest of the board, I would like to give each of our custodians a big thank you and tell you how much we all appreciate the work that you do on behalf of our teachers, our school staff, and most importantly, our students. So thank you very much. I had mentioned the school forum. I also do want to take a moment to recognize the work of our board. Our board, while we certainly always focus on the school district, we have over the years become a very well-respected Board of Education and have had a number of opportunities to speak in front of fellow board members and fellow administration. Soon, Dr. Salah and myself, representing the entire Board of Education, will have an opportunity to speak in front of the Michigan Association of School Boards in November regarding various steps that we took to make certain that we're engaged in the community throughout and after our pandemic. The community forum is an example of how we reach out to our community. With that being said, I also want to mention that Dr. Salah, our superintendent, has had a terrific impact on various school districts throughout the state, because recently he's published in our Michigan Association School Board Leadership magazine. The title of the article is "Removing Political Ideology from the Equation: How Educational Systems can Collaborate to Benefit Students." So I do want to recognize Dr. Salah for this article. It's a great article. If you have an opportunity, even though you might not subscribe to this magazine, you can look up under Michigan Association of School Boards, and it's available for our community. So once again, thank you, Dr. Salah, for representing our Board of Education, our school district, and our community with that article. With that, let's go ahead and move on to the next item, which I believe Dr. Salah is Huron Valley highlights, tenured teachers.
Thank you, Mr. President. And at this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, and good evening. It's an honor tonight to recognize our HVEA staff members who have achieved tenure status in Huron Valley schools. This achievement not only demonstrates the continued dedication of these staff members, but also the high standards that our teachers are held to in order to attain tenure. We sincerely thank each of them for their commitment to Huron Valley schools and to their students' learning success. I'd now like to acknowledge all of our newly tenured teachers. We have about half joining us in the audience tonight. So if you're here, if you could please stand when I announce your name and remain standing. Those of you who couldn't make it, hopefully you can catch us on the live stream, video or recording. And then lastly, if we can all hold our applause until everyone's name has been announced, we can then give one big round of applause at the end. So that said, I'm going to go by building. So I'm going to start with our Apollo Center. From Apollo, we have Sonia Bohm, Lisa Antonio, Kimberly St. Amour. From Country Oaks Elementary, we have Stephanie Wooster, Krista Peterson, and Jessica Clem. From Heritage Elementary, we have Amy Morgan and Gina Hockstad. From Highland Elementary, Annie Cook and Carrie Sanderson. From Lakewood Elementary, Elizabeth Mack. From Oak Valley Middle School, Philip Snow. Michelle Michelin. From White Lake Middle School, we have Danielle Vivio, Aaron Moransky, and Adam Wager. From Harbor High School, we have Karen Gerard. From Lakeland High School, Sandra Tyson, Colleen Durham, Alina Trice, and lastly from Milford High School, Amanda Bala, Emily Mindquick, Rachel Johnson, and Elizabeth Carlson. Congratulations to all of you. Now, if we could get you in the middle here, we'd like to get a picture with the board and Dr. Salah.
Yes, Member Cotter has a comment.
I just wanted to make a comment to our newly tenured teachers. Number one, thank you very much for coming out today. I didn't even want to come tonight.
You're not on tenure.
But like yourselves, I'm a retired Huron Valley teacher who received tenure at one time. I don't take it lightly. It's an honor and a privilege. I look forward to all of you doing good things for our Huron Valley kids. So if you've got 4 years down, you probably only have 26 left to go before retirement. But thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for serving Huron Valley.
Any other comments? I think back in your day, it was only 2 years before you got tenure. Is that correct?
I was special back then.
Once again, thank you very much. And I know you have a busy day, so maybe we'll pause for a moment if anyone would like to leave. But you certainly can stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like. But I do know that
Gary,
tomorrow morning
I
comes
saw
very
that,
early.
Gary.
Have any school presentations? I know that we do have some coming up in the near future. Next is superintendent's communications.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, we do. Our next school presentation is, I believe, our next meeting, right, Heather? Yes. So we will have one at our next meeting. I just want to, again, congratulate our tenured teachers who are now, going to go home, get some rest tonight because they've got an early day tomorrow. We just appreciate them being here this evening. We're incredibly proud of our tenured teachers. We're happy that they've made Huron Valley their home. And I just want to thank our principals that were able to come out this evening as well. I think that just speaks to the support mechanisms that are in place and that people care about people here. And that's why they were here supporting teachers in their building. So thanks to our principals and congratulations to our tenured teachers. I asked Jerry to put this picture on the smart board because I think it's a really important point of pride and celebration, and that is our unified band program. And what you'll see there, our listening audience who's watching this either online via live stream or who will watch it in the next couple of days or so, is an image captured of our Huron Valley Schools unified band, who, by the way, this year has already won several accolades and high accomplishments. They had the privilege to perform actually yesterday at Miguel Cabrera's final home game. It's just quite an honor in and of itself to be able to perform at Comerica Park, but to do that on such a monumentous, widely attended occasion, and for Huron Valley schools to be selected as a school district to be put on exhibit, I think speaks volumes to our band program, to our director, Mr. Bob Green, and to all the hard work that our students put in and day out. And it really is day in and day out. I mean, when we walk out of here, we'll probably hear instruments playing in the background at something like 9:30 at night. And they're just an amazing group of students, and we're extraordinarily proud of their work. So thank you, Jerry, for putting that picture up. So I have a few other updates this evening. I'd like to start out by recognizing a new-ish member to our team, Jean Hanka. Jean is our supervisor of pupil services. She actually started in June because she was here for the super competitive cornhole competition that we had at the end of the year. She's a pretty good cornhole player, and we didn't ask her that in the interview, but she was there nevertheless. Jean brings 23 years of experience in the field of student services. She was with South Lyon Community Schools in her previous position. We do not hold that against her. In her most recent position, she was the pupil accountant specialist. She shared responsibilities for state reporting, pupil accounting, student data maintenance, enrollment records and files for the entire district in accordance with state and federal reporting requirements. We're so fortunate to have Jean with us on the team. She has fit in really nicely with the culture. She works very hard. And I'm actually really pleased since you've been here, enrollment has been looking a little better than what we've seen the last couple of years. That's a good sign. So please join me in welcoming Jean to the Huron Valley team. Jean, I would invite you to the microphone for a few moments.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salah. I really appreciate that. And I have to say, everyone here has been so welcoming and supportive, and I really appreciate that. It's feeling like home, so that's awesome, and I'm loving being here. I've had the opportunity to attend the MPAAA conference, and that was an awesome experience to network with other districts and the auditors on some things. And I'm loving working with my team here. And like I said, everybody's been so supportive. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We know you're the right one for the job because you just said you enjoyed hanging out with the auditors. So I'm not sure how many people I know have ever said those words. Maybe
a lot of good
Jeffrey.
Information,
That's
mainly.
about it. Thanks, Jean.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next up, I want to share. So there's an article speaking about pupil enrollment. An article in the Oakland Press today titled "Count Day is Key to State Funding for Oakland County." And I just want to make certain that our listening audience is aware that this Wednesday is actually Count Day for the state of Michigan. And why is that important? It's important because 90% of our funding as a school district is based upon this count that will take place on Wednesday. It's first Wednesday in October. It's the same every single year, every single school year. That first count is 90% of our funding, and then there's another count in February that makes up about 10% of our funding. And so it's really important for us to get our kiddos in school on that day. It has a tremendous impact on our overall funding as a district. This year, we'll see $9,608 per pupil. This last year, we saw a $458 increase, which is pretty substantial. In fact, it's probably the most substantial budget we have seen, certainly in my career as an educator. Some interesting other data points that I thought our listening audience might find of interest. Over the past 3 years, Oakland County K-12 public schools enrollment fell approximately 9,664 students. Some districts had minimal declines, while there were 6 districts in Oakland County that actually saw more than a 10% drop in that 3-year span. It's interesting because we've had this conversation over the last several years about declining enrollment, declining birth rates, and so on and so forth. And it's not just an Oakland County phenomena or a Huron Valley phenomena. In fact, over that same time span, we saw enrollment drop 60,000 students statewide, which is really quite tremendous when you think about the bigger picture and total enrollment. So we are anxiously awaiting what those final numbers will look like as a school district. Many of you may not know that we do practice counts every week, and we have been doing them since the beginning of the school year. I will tell you, I am cautiously optimistic that the numbers look much better than what we projected. So we're really excited to see where we are landing. So just share that, please. If you have plans to have your children out of school on Wednesday, if you can change them. We would love to see them in school on Wednesday. So I also wanted to share this past week, Friday, was Milford High School's homecoming. It was a wonderful event. The parade downtown was wonderful. It's just really cool to see the whole community come together. And you know, the icing on top of the cake was that our team won 24-0. So great performance by the kiddos. I'm proud of the Milford High School football program. It's come a long way 5 years ago when I was when I first started as superintendent, I asked if our record was always like that, and it's actually going quite well. They've done a really nice job building a feeder program, and really proud of the coaches, the entire team, and just a shout out to Milford High School. This upcoming Friday is Lakeland High School's homecoming. They put on quite a nice event as well. If you have some free time Friday and you want to join us over there at the Bogey Lake campus, Lakeland High School will be participating in their homecoming game, and they also will have a parade event on that campus at 5:30. If you want to come out and cheer on the team, that would be wonderful. And I think my final comment this evening relates to strategic planning 2.0. During the last several board meetings, I've tried to make a really intentional effort to update our community regarding our progress as it relates to the work around Strategic Plan 2.0. On September 21st, we posted our third video. Our second video. We had our third meeting in our second video, where we heard updates regarding potential innovative programming around career technical education, as well as from Plant Moran Real Point around building utilization. So specifically based upon our enrollment, the architectural capacity of our buildings, and the way our buildings are being utilized, the percent utilized that our buildings are being used. So I would encourage you, if you have not had an opportunity, we really want to involve the community as much as possible in this process. Getting quite a bit of traction and views of these videos, which I'm really excited about. That's why we made the information available to the public. As of around 3 o'clock this afternoon, when I did a quick check, we had 356 views of the overall video, which is fantastic. That's 356 people that weren't at that meeting that had an opportunity to gain access to the information. And then 31 views of the career technical education presentation, and then 52 views of the building utilization presentation. And why is that important? Because if you know anything about social media, the average attention span is like 30 seconds of watching video. Like that's what, right, Laura? It's something like, it's a very small time span that you can capture an audience and keep them engaged with the content. So these videos are between 50 and 30 minutes long that folks are logging onto and they're watching. So I think that speaks volumes to the process and to people's engagement in this work that we're doing. So, and if you have any questions truly about the strategic plan, about any of the content that you're viewing online, do not hesitate to reach out to me. We have HVS Communications email that's on our website. If you click that link and you send an email, our communications department reviews all of those emails and they get them to the appropriate department so that we can answer any questions that you might have. That concludes my comments this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Slah. Anyone have any questions of Dr. Slah regarding his comments? Seeing none, next item on the agenda is student leadership. Student leadership, student participation in our district is extraordinarily important. We're very grateful that the student leadership team at our various high schools are participating in our Teaching, Learning, and Technology Committee that is headed by Secretary Pastana. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pastana.
No. Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. I just wanted to give a quick comment about student leadership. They are very important to our TLT committee meeting. They give us feedback. They ask questions. They come from a different viewpoint than any of us would have. So it's really important that they're there, and they always make the commitment. These are the busiest students everywhere, but they always make the commitment to come to our meetings and to give us feedback. And even if they can't come to the meetings, we get feedback. So I just want to say thank you for Priyanka is going to talk tonight. She's going to tell you what's happening at Milford High School. But they're all just great students, and we really appreciate it. It's really important to us to hear what you have to say, because we all sit up here because we want to do what's best for our students. So with that, Priyanka, come up.
You gotta push that green button.
Hello, everybody.
There you go.
I'm Milford High School Student Council President, and the beginning of the year was a little different for Milford High School. We weren't able to have freshman orientation, but second day of school, we started our MIT program in leadership, which is called Mavs in Training. And basically, it's where a group of freshmen get assigned to 2 leaders of different grades, and we basically answer any questions that they have. Our first meeting, we got to talk about homecoming and all the fun things about that. We even got to give them a little in-depth tour of the school. We got to show them where they can buy their school spirit wear, even help them with some of their lockers and scheduling and how to make appointments with their counselor, just important things that they needed for that. And even though we start MIT for freshmen, actually the whole Huron Valley pretty much starts Mavs in Training from elementary school. I know Heritage, they got to vote on our flow building contest, and your seniors won for Milford. And also Muir Middle School got to start their Spirit Week, and actually correlates with Milford High School Spirit Week. I know they also had a pep assembly on Thursday that a lot of the sports teams got to go to, and we got to kind of hype them up for our homecoming week. And the start of our homecoming week, we actually got to decorate downtown with window painting. Our leadership class got to go out and do that. And later that night, we had a powder puff game, and seniors won again. We won 3 years in a row. And all of the fundraising that went from that powder puff game got to go to the class of 2025's prom. And the whole week got a lot of participation. Our homecoming theme was Mavs at Sea, so it was a cruise theme. My favorite day was Pirates versus Sailors Day. I got to bring out some old Halloween costumes for that one. And the whole day of Friday itself, we had our own pep assembly where we also did a class color day. And our prom team, dance team, and cheer team got to perform at that. We also got to perform at the game as well. And it was great to have a win on our homecoming night. Even the homecoming dance leadership got to stay after the game and decorate the whole hallway for everything, and that was super fun. And even Sunday morning, leadership got to all hang out together, take down all the decorations, and even go downtown and clean up all of the windows. So that was super great. And that's pretty much it for student leadership. But it's only been 1 month so far, but a lot of fun and amazing events so far. But
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions? I know Dr. Sla and I had mentioned, had an opportunity to participate a little bit in the homecoming parade. And I will tell you, and will attest that Milford High School has a tremendous positive impact on our community and all the things that you do. And while you talked about all the fun you were having, the tremendous impact that you have on our community is so important and so much appreciated. So thank you, and please pass that on to your leadership team and your entire student body. It's very much respected and appreciated and recognized. Thank you. Next, Jennifer always likes following student leadership. Jennifer Hollinger, Association Communication.
Yes, I know. It's my favorite place to be on the agenda. Good evening. Tonight is an exciting night as we recognize our newly tenured educators. Each of these educators, who is now home doing lesson plans and doing what they need to do, not only demonstrates exceptional skills, but they've also chosen to make Huron Valley Schools their home away from home. Some of these educators are newer in their careers. However, many of them have 8, 12, 16, or even 20 years of experience before they landed in the Valley. In communicating with many of these educators, a common theme emerged. Not surprising, when asked about their favorite part of being an educator, their answer focused on the students. Danielle Vivio, an art teacher at White Lake, and Amy Morgan, technology teacher at Heritage, talked about the excitement of when a concept finally clicks for their students and how their faces of their students light up when they experience that aha moment. Others reflected how rewarding it is to observe academic growth throughout the year. Philip Snow, teacher at Oak Valley, and Krista Peterson, teacher at Country Oaks, expressed that their favorite part about being a teacher is building relationships with students and watching them grow academically and socially. Michelle Michelin, also at Oak Valley, agrees with them and adds that she enjoys observing the positive interactions of her students with each other as they gain personal and academic skills. As seasoned teachers, these educators know that life is not always smooth sailing in the classroom. They express that they work hard to balance all of the individual needs of their students while also developing creative and engaging academic lesson plans. Gina Hockstead, a teacher at Heritage, said that the most challenging part of being an educator is worrying about the students that need extra support and extra resources. By now, our tenured teachers are fully aware of the overwhelming responsibilities that come along with being a teacher. Remembering the positive growth in little moments those little moments with students is what gets them through. Adam Wager, teacher at White Lake, talked about how hard it is to say goodbye to his students at the end of the year. And consequently, Colleen Durham, a teacher at Lakeland, said she loves when her students return to see her the following year. These moments of joy get us through the really tough times. In summary, our newly tenured teachers are excited to continue to be part of the staff in the Valley. Many of them live in our community, have children who attend our schools, and at least one of them even graduated from HVS. They are all in, and our staff and our students benefit from them each day. We love their enthusiasm, their knowledge, and their commitment to Huron Valley schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Board correspondence. Secretary Pastan, do we have any correspondence tonight?
No correspondence except to thank Ms. Cotter for stepping into her previous role at the last board meeting. For me, thank you.
She did a nice job. Treasurer's report.
No treasurer's report this evening.
No treasurer's report. Executive committee. I do have a short report. The executive committee met on September 22nd, 2023 at 9:15 at the Huron Valley Schools Administration Building. The meeting was called to order at 9:23. Present were myself, Member Dodd, Member Pastana, Dr. Sla, and Heather Cadell. There were no public comments. We discussed tonight's board agenda. The committee reviewed the board agenda in its anticipation of the board meeting tonight. Safety and security, the committee reviewed the agenda in anticipation for the October 17th safety meeting that the entire Board of Education is invited to attend. In addition, we reviewed the superintendent's goals. Dr. Sla reviewed with the committee the 23-24 superintendent goals presentation that will be presented tonight. And Dr. Sla will discuss these goals in the other subcommittee meetings before the board meeting that's being held tonight. Strategic plan, we had an opportunity to debrief the strategic plan meeting that was held on September 20th. The committee discussed building utilization and how it affects the district's ability to provide innovative programming. Neola administrative guidelines, the guidelines, while not approved by the board, support the board policies. Dr. Slosh shared the updates to the 1000 series administrative guidelines. Other items that were discussed was the enhancement millage. Dr. Salah discussed the exploration of Oakland schools and the consideration of enhancement millage. EPIC MRA will conduct polling to determine if there is interest amongst the Oakland County residents. He also updated a retirement package that is going through the House as it pertains to changes to the current retirement legislation that we expect to become law. In addition to that, we talked about Senate Bill 395 related to educators' evaluation. Our next meeting is Friday, October 27th at 9:15 a.m. Next on the agenda is TLT committee. Member Pastana.
Yep. TLT met on September 26th. The meeting was called to order at 4:32. Present were myself, Ms. Cotter, Mr. Dimmick, Mr. Tavernier, Dr. Salah, Mr. Lindberg, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Bjorkman, and our students, Paul Baker and Priyanka Patel. There was no public comment. We discussed the superintendent goals. Dr. Salah reviewed the proposed goals with the committee. They will appear on tonight's agenda. Priyanka and Paul shared the updates on activities at both high schools. There was a spring assessment review. The proficiency results from the spring 2023 MSTEP and PSAT assessments were released recently and letters sent home to families. Aggregate data included district, county, and state outcomes were reviewed. The highlights included HVS students performed as well as the state average in grade 3 ELA and outperformed the state average in all other tested grades and content areas. Number 2, the HVS students outperformed the county average in 7 of 20 tested grades and subjects. And 3, the district trends show small gains in many grade levels when compared to 2022 post-pandemic proficiency levels. We had a brief update on safety and security initiatives, including the installation of new doors and hardware. As Mr. Wiseman talked about, the safety committee will be meeting on October 17th. On the consent agenda, as part of the 2020 bond program, the replacement of band instruments is planned. In July 2020, the Board of Ed approved an initial award, which is now up for renewal. It was supported by the TLT committee for this exhibit to appear under new business on tonight's agenda. And we adjourned at 5:24. Our next meeting is October 17th at 4:30.
Thank you very much. Finance and operations.
Finance and Operations met on Wednesday, September 27th at 8 a.m. in the administrative building. Mr. Wiseman, Ms. Ryan, myself, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Reby, Ms. Kerrigan, Ms. Mariskin, Ms. Hilgendorf from Clark Construction, and Mr. Weinrock from TMP were all present. There was no public comment. Our regular agenda included no consent agenda items. It was unusual for finance. We did have some unfinished business, including our superintendent's goals, which are on the agenda for this evening. We also have new business, the band instrument purchase. This is a purchase that went out for rebid this summer as part of our co-op with MAC Service Corp, and Taylor Music was awarded the work. We're asking the board for an additional band instrument purchase for Taylor Music in the amount of $378,267.23 plus a 10% contingency. The administration will request approval on October 16th at our board meeting then. We also review safety and security updates, including fencing standards along the perimeter of all buildings. We are also talked about the first community safety and security meeting that's coming up in October, as well as a high-level overview of the recon management. And Mr. Weinrock from TMP will share construction trends to what we expect to see in the future. Fortis and Rosie feedback so far has been very good and very positive. We also had an update on bond construction. Clark Construction provided us with an update of the remaining contingencies for all of our packages, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and the updates of current and upcoming bid packages. We looked at the June 30th, 2023 year-to-date budget to actual, really just an incredible review of that budget. We are just thrilled with the work that our business office has done. We have some real positive financials to report. We also will be looking at some potential capital project funding as a safety net to protect us from unforeseen expenses, which is really something that we've never been able to do. So kudos to our business office for the hard work that they put in. Future discussion items will include having our consortium, MAC Service Corp, come in to talk to us about what's going on there. Dr. Salah also gave us a legislative update regarding retirement and the legislative adjournment, along with an overview of Oakland County's potential enhancement millage to find out if that's going to be put on the budget. on the ballot rather. Our meeting adjourned at 9:30. That's a good one. And our next meeting is October 11th at 8 a.m.
Thank you very much. Member Dodd, Communications, Marketing, and Legislation.
All right. Our last meeting was on September 12th, 303 at the administration building. Members present were myself, Amy Grzymkowski, Lindsay Cotter, Barb Rothler, Paul Salah, Kim Willis, and Heather Cadell. We had no public comment. Regular agenda A is the Board of Education Google Drive, which I'm using right now to read my minutes. It's a wonderfully organized drive that Ms. Cadell put together for us that helps us be as paper-free as possible and also keep everything and all the information that's coming in very organized. So that was a great presentation. Next, we talked about District Safety Protocols Parent Letter. This is a communication that was sent to parents and added to the website at the end of September to really outline exactly what happens in the case of emergency, when to expect communication, etc. Committee looked over the letter and added infographics and gave a little bit of feedback, but otherwise I think that was good to go and has gone out to homes. We also discussed free and reduced lunch. Now that lunches are free for everyone, discussed the importance of communicating the need for families to still complete the free and reduced lunch information regardless of the lunches, because it has to do with a lot of other school funding things. So the name is a little bit confusing because of the change in the laws. So communication showed how they've been communicating on social media and the website, that the forum is more than just free lunch. Also showed how communication has been shared on a state level and on social media platforms. Communications presented application numbers from food service from 2022 and 23. We're going to revisit these numbers at our next meeting. We also quickly talked about the Skyward online back to school process. Fun fact, Skyward is an app. I did not know that. And we discussed the need for it to be mobile friendly, since a lot of people do this sort of stuff on their mobile phones. But good news, it already is, because it's easier for folks to figure out when they're trying to do that in the new year. Next, we talked about new resident welcome bag flyers. We have 5 communities that make up Huron Valley Schools, and we talked about the communications that we gave to Highland Township to put into their resident welcome bags, and we're reaching out to Milford and White Lake to see if they have something similar that we could add a flyer to. We also discussed a legislative update. Paul talked about the transportation legislation on a state level, working on definitions, and so working with local lobbyists on the legislation. Other school chat communication. Communications will be sending a survey monkey to teachers and parents to see what they are using to communicate. So to really understand what thing people are using to communicate with their teachers and to receive information from their teachers, because we know it's different across the board. That's in the classroom, in community rec and ed, theater programs, extracurriculars, really just to help us figure out exactly what works and what makes sense. Communications is going to start a committee, including rec and ed, to narrow down those options and figure out if there's something that might work best for all of us district-wide. We adjourned, I want to say about 4 o'clock, and the next meeting will be Tuesday, October 17th at 3 o'clock at the administration building.
Thank you very much, Laura. Ms. Cadell, do we have any public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent agenda. As Member Grzymkowski said, our consent agenda is kind of light tonight. All we have is Exhibit A, which is the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
All right. Motion made by Member Dimick. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Member Grzymkowski. Could I have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Next, unfinished business. Our district, our Board of Education follows a 2-step process. Items are normally presented under new business, and then for a first reading and then a second reading. Both of the unfinished business items tonight are up for the second reading. The first of them is the 2023-2024 superintendent's goals that were presented at the last board meeting. I'll turn it over to Dr. Salah at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I shared my proposed 23-24 goals, and for our listening audience, so that our folks in the community out there who are wondering what this process looks like. After I shared my goals with the board at the last meeting, I subsequently had an opportunity to connect with all board members to determine whether or not there were any follow-up questions or any additional detail that perhaps might be needed in order for the board to make an informed decision this evening as it relates to my goals. My goals, for our listening audience to understand, are designed to be high level. And if you look at, Jerry, if you pull that up real quick, I'm not going to go through each and every slide in a lot of detail, but I want to just touch on the second page that has the flow chart. Yeah, if you go to that second slide, Jerry. Yeah, right there. That third box, which would be difficult for anybody that's sitting up here to be able to see, says that the superintendent works with each member of the COAT team to ensure that COAT team members' goals support the overarching goals of the superintendent and the strategic plan pillars. So when I propose my goals, they are 40,000 foot view. COAT members are 20,000 foot view. And then as each member of the department heads that they evaluate and the building principals that they evaluate really get down into the more micro details as it relates to implementation. And that's how we get it all the way to the classroom. So the first goal deals primarily with instruction. The second goal deals primarily with the business and operations of the organization. The third deals primarily with school safety and security. The fourth deals primarily with social emotional well-being. The fifth is around marketing and communications, how we tell our story. And the sixth is around attraction and recruitment. And so with that, I believe I've answered most questions of the board, but I would invite, Mr. President, first I would ask for your approval this evening, and then I would invite any additional questions or dialogue with the board.
Thank you, Dr. Salah. What I'd like to do is go ahead and get a motion as it relates to accepting these goals with a second, and then I'll open it up to discussion. So could I have a motion to accept?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the superintendent goals for 23-24 as presented.
All right.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion made by Member Cotter, seconded by Member Pestana. At this point in time, I'd like to open it up for any discussion as it relates to those goals. Do we have any? Yes, Amy.
So in our committee meeting, we really kind of pulled these goals apart and had really great conversations around this. I'm wondering, could you give us an example of perhaps how one of your goals, pick whichever one you'd like, might trickle down? How does that trickle down effect work? And how does it impact the student in the classroom? Or how does it impact the parents or the community?
Thank you, Ms. Grismkowski. It's a great question. And I'm sure, there are people in the community that are wondering, like, why aren't Dr. Salah's goals more specific, in terms of what he does on a day-to-day basis? And so because I am the superintendent, it's my responsibility for all of the management of the organization. I work with each member of the COAT team to really drill down into the details. So if we take, I think I'd like to take the first goal as an example, Jerry, if we could put that up, which is teaching, learning, and technology. And it's 2 pages. And what it says is the Huron Valley Schools will continue to perfect its systems approach to successful school environments, in parentheses, the stair-step model, by presenting and adopting strategic plan goals designed to generate innovation in student programming. And so what you'll notice is there's a diagram that has 4 steps. And I've spoken to this on various occasions over my tenure with the school district. And what those 4 steps synthesize is essentially what all of the fundamental educational literature says that successful schools do. And the first step is it's the culture, the climate, the people, the system. So we've spent a lot of time over the last several years implementing our professional learning communities. That's that first step. So when we're digging in, like while this is a one sentence statement, we're talking the implementation of system-wide professional learning communities where teachers meet every week by grade level or content area. And they are making decisions about how they're going to tweak or modify instruction based upon what they observed in that previous week. And they do that every single week by grade level or by content area. Another example of that would be our collaborative inquiry process, which looks more across a building or across a system, identifying a problem of practice and implementing a theory of action to make a building better or an entire cohort better. It's a real systems approach to that work. Our focus in particular this year as it relates to the stair-step model is going to be upon data. We have finally turned the page on the pandemic. We've finally gotten back to not reacting, but being proactive as it relates to curriculum design. We're doing some really exciting things as it relates to early literacy, but we have to use data to help drive our decision making. So to give you an example, we had an administrative instructional meeting a week ago, and John and his team facilitated professional learning around a number of topics. One was positive behavior intervention supports. So that's the social emotional. Two, we had a presentation from Dr. Nemeth regarding how we can utilize our Illuminate data warehouse to grab key pieces of data so that they could be used within the professional learning community. And three, we had a chance to take out our PLC playbook. We literally have a 20-page framework that was written by HVS, an HVS committee that included teachers and administrators and central office to guide the PLC structure of the organization and to identify where we might be getting off path and bringing it back in. That was the contents of that administrative instructional meeting. So John's goals, you could imagine, would be much more detailed as it related to PLCs, the utilization of data, and the collaborative inquiry process. So when he and I sit down to review his goals, that's what I will be looking for from him. And then he will be driving that work by his department, and I will be evaluating him, to help him make success in those areas. And then periodically I'll meet with the teaching, learning, and technology department, and I'll ask key questions. And John and I have a lot of one-on-one conversations about how things are going, what we might need to do to course correct. I do the same thing with each member of the COAT team to drill down, and then they will subsequently do the same thing with the department heads and the building principals in the district. And in that way, we are able to create alignment from this board table to the classroom. Because by you adopting those goals, that then sets in motion what our team will be focusing upon for the remainder of this school year. And really, that shouldn't change. If you're doing the right work, you shouldn't be reinventing the wheel every single school year. The research says you should have 1 to 3 key initiatives that you really focus upon, not 10 to 30, because it's impossible to do 10 to 30. And so we try to keep it tight. And people really appreciate not having the next flavor of the week. We are doing PLCs as a school district. We are engaged in the collaborative inquiry process. We aren't going to throw 20 new things at our staff because it's really hard for a big organization like this to course shift without a good reason to do it. That was a longer explanation than
I told you. They were very good conversations. Yeah. We had basically this entire conversation, but I think it's important for people to understand, especially as a parent, how do your goals impact the classroom? And I think you really illustrated that for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent question. Very good response.
Thank you.
Laura.
So I've been tuning in since season 1 of Superintendent Goals. And I think the thing that I appreciate about this, seeing them every single year, is that we're not doing a new show every year. that it is building upon success, learning, tweaking, creating, and growing. And that's the beauty of having a superintendent who's been with us and who's going to stay with us. That's why we have longer contracts, and we look at making sure that you're here and that we make this a great place for you to work. Because when you're changing out the leadership, that causes big changes in this sort of stuff. Where we are now is incremental progress on goals. And I think that that's what lends to stability, strength, and the ability for everyone to grow, from our professional staff to grow and learn, all the way down to the kids to have good, strong teachers teaching them so they can grow and learn too. So I'm excited about fifth season. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm supportive.
Any other comments? I appreciate the goals. I totally support both what Amy and Laura said. I think my reflection on these goals is really, we as a board, one of our roles is to create a vision for the school district. And I really believe personally that these goals really incorporate what our vision is of the school district and takes on those pillars that we feel are extraordinarily important. The success of you as superintendent, as the leader of our district, is dependent upon COAT. COAT's success is built on the success of the people that are out in the field, with ultimately the success of our students being the driver of all of these goals. And I truly believe that these goals do reflect our vision and accurately reflect the direction that this district goes. And I too, and we all have lived through, and Dr. Slaa and I have had these conversations. It's a flavor of the month. And as a past educator, I lived through some of those times where it was almost the flavor of the month, and that there was changes in leadership, and that caused significant changes as a direction of the district, which really deters from the success of the classroom. So I appreciate your work. We have a motion and we have a second. If there are no other comments or questions, could we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Ms. Grismkowski.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, Exhibit C, Reading and Math Intervention Resources, Unfinished Business. Dr. Slaa.
Thank you. And I will invite Mr. Taverner if you have any comments this evening.
Yeah, again, as we talked earlier, process is 2 meetings. So this came under new business at our last meeting. So tonight, under unfinished business, we are asking the Board of Education to approve the purchase of 120 Math 180 and 120 Read 180 licenses, in addition to the supporting materials and professional services for the amount of $69,256.56 plus 5% contingency for adjusted enrollment. And again, just as a reminder, this is aligned to our MTSS program at our middle schools. And so this is supporting our Tier 2 instruction. I have not received any questions since our last meeting, so it is recommended the Board of Education approve this exhibit this evening.
Do I have a motion to approve Exhibit C?
I'll make a motion to approve Exhibit C as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Motion
support.
made by Member Dimick, seconded by Member Dodd. Before I take it to a vote, this is a pilot program, correct?
It is. This is the first year of a pilot program. We're looking at a couple different options within our middle schools, but this is a pilot for this year.
Okay. And you said there has not, this being a second reading, you've had an opportunity to answer any questions or have, there might have been during those 2 weeks, right? Okay. Yes.
I just had
Member
a
Dimick.
quick comment as well on the on this agenda item. It really, this is something I really got behind. It falls in line with the reason I ran for board. And it was like Lindsay, I really didn't want to be here tonight with this beautiful weather, but I'm here because I believe in the preservation of our children's innocence and the educational opportunities that we're providing. And I think we're doing a pretty good job, and I'd like to continue this going forward. And I think that we have the right people making these calls. So definitely believe in it.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Miss Dodd,
Yes.
Miss Grismkowski,
Yes.
Miss Ryan.
Yes.
I am a yes. Miss Cotter
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. New business band instrument purchases, Exhibit D. I know that this has been presented at a committee level, but this is the first time that it's been presented to the entire board and to the public. So with that, turn it over to Dr. Salah.
I believe this item went to both TLT and Finance and Operations. So I think Jeffrey, or is John taking this one? Jeffrey's taking it.
I think the community wanted to hear me speak tonight, so I think I'll have this one.
Could we take that to a vote?
So as been in TLT as well as Finance and Operations, we actually purchased instruments 2020 as a result of the bond that the community supported us in. And so this is actually every 3 years or so we're required to rebid this work. And so this is the second round of instrument purchases. So we had our music program under the direction of Bob Green, who you spoke of earlier tonight, come up with an inventory of different instruments that the group needs to continue that success that they've had in their program. And so what we have before you is first read tonight. We did publicly bid this. Taylor Music, who was awarded some of the bid in 2020, was awarded the work. Have the inventory. In 2020, we had to split it up because as we were rolling through the pandemic, inventory was more of a challenge than it is now with specific to musical instruments. So Taylor Music was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. So they were awarded the work. Again, we're not asking for a formal approval, but this is a first read. And so we did information out there for the board to take a look at. And obviously, John or myself can answer questions about that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great. I know that, as you mentioned, it has been presented at a couple of committee meetings. We do have a 2-week period to ask any questions. Are there any questions right now that you might want to ask? Yes, Jacob?
Again, no questions, but our district is crushing it with the band, so it's another thing that I'm happy to support. Our arts and band, falls into that. They're just doing amazing things, so well done.
Great. Any other comments? I do have just a couple comments. Number one, this out of the bond issue. Once again, about $1.5 million is allocated out of the bond issue that was approved by the community. Without this bond issue being passed, these instruments wouldn't be a reality and would not be in the hands of our students. Second of all, this is not just at the high school. This is middle school, correct?
Yeah, this is all of our secondary music programs. Correct.
Okay. So previously we approved over $1 million. Now we're approving roughly $500,000 worth of band equipment that will be afforded to our students, that parents, that will in essence be loaned out to our artists and be utilized by them. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, these are going to be property of Huron Valley Schools, but while there are some families who prefer to purchase their own instruments and keep those upon graduation, there are students who want to participate in the program and, one, don't have the means, or two, just want to have that as an actual piece of property that their family owns. So this is a really, really essential benefit. And as you mentioned earlier, without the purchase of this and the support of the communities, this is one thing that means a lot to those that are in the arts program, as well as obviously the supportive community who really is behind them with respect to the performances and the work that they do. Much like someone who's really academics, arts, and athletics, you guys preach about that all the time, and this is definitely an important part of one of those arms. So
I think it demonstrates that we walk the talk when we talk about being a AAA school district. This is a significant commitment to the arts and provides those opportunities for students, just like performing in front of 40,000 people yesterday. Wouldn't be possible without that support. So thank you very much. As I said before, this is a new business. I'm sorry, Amy?
One other note here, musical instruments are incredibly expensive, and there are many musical instruments that the average student would never have access to. So we are also purchasing some of these instruments that, quite frankly, you are not going to be able to ever play unless a district purchases these instruments. So giving our students the opportunity to play an instrument that would be outside of their ability to afford is really important. It's an important aspect of what we bring to the table as a community. I'm a little passionate about band tonight too, apparently.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. We'll have this presented at the next board meeting. It was nice to hear from you, Jeffrey. Next on the agenda is ASME custodial maintenance contract. Dr. Slaw.
Yeah, we don't want Jeanette to feel left out. So, Jeanette, you're the trifecta today.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we were really pleased to hear last Friday that there was good news that the ASME group ratified the tentative agreement. So that was last Friday, September 29th. Therefore, the updated board packet was sent out, details were shared. All the terms and conditions were within the board parameters, including during the closed session on September 11th. So just a quick summary, the duration, it's a 2-year contract through June 30th, 2025. The financials include new competitive wages. We removed the new hire step on that. There was an increase to some of the shift premiums, as well as the allowance for safety shoes and boots. And then in year 2, there was a wage reopener for the 24-25 year. And all other provisions of the ASME collective bargaining agreement would remain the same. So any questions, I'm happy to answer if anybody has any.
Anyone have any questions before we have a motion? You mentioned that this falls into the parameters that was set by the board.
Correct.
And where does this fit within all of our bargaining groups? Are we completed now with the various
We are
bargaining groups?
complete now. There's
Okay.
a little excitement in my voice.
Okay, well, that's terrific.
Yeah, this
I'm
concludes
glad to
all the
hear.
negotiations.
Yes, very positive. I think it's indicative of the cooperation, not only between, obviously the cooperation between the administration and our people that make it all happen. And I think it's kind of appropriate that today is honoring our custodians. The custodians are part of this group, but there's also our worker leaders, our utility truck drivers, our ground people, and our technicians are all part of this group that make it all happen. These are the people that are behind the scenes every day, making certain that our schools are ready for our teachers and our students. So once again, please pass on behalf of the rest of the board, our appreciation and our respect for the work that they do. So, any questions? Could I have a motion?
Yes. Oh, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the custodial maintenance contract agreement.
Okay.
Could we move for that?
Yes.
I'll
Do I have a second?
I can say.
Jacob?
Yep.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I'll open it up once again for any comment or questions before we vote. Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Grismkowski,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. Terrific. Yeah, there's no balloon drop. Maybe I can just drop the gavel. The meeting's not adjourned, so don't. Next, public comments on non-action items. Do we have any? Good and welfare. I'll open it up to good and welfare. Anyone? Yes, Denise?
Well, I know it's already been said, but I would still like to say congratulations to Mr. Green and the Huron Valley Marching Band. I actually went to the Invitational a couple weekends ago, and it was amazing. I don't know a whole lot about marching band, but it was great watching it, and there was lots of excitement. So that was great, and I just wanted to, give them a shout out. And then obviously yesterday at the Tiger game too. So yeah, great job.
Super. Any other comments?
To round it out for the night. So in line with Dr. Salah's recent article about getting the politics out of the classroom, I know I was met with some trepidation by some members of the community when I was voted in, but I'm happy to say that I feel like we're a very high functioning board, and that goes in part to the leadership and mentorship that I've been granted since I've been here, and the kindness by people like Ms. Cotter here. So I just want to say thank you guys. This is like roughly 9-10 months in, so it's kind of just looking back on my first almost year here, and just very happy with the direction we're heading, and glad to be part of it.
Thank you for your comments. Anything else? Yes, Amy.
Just want to remind you that Trick or Trucks is October 6th at Milford High School. Get that on your calendar. Sign up today.
I know that people are anxiously waiting for us to go closed session. I do want a couple comments. One thing, I always use the phrase winners adjust. All right. To be a winner, you have to make adjustments. I will tell you that our band director, Mr. Green, and his people had to make a number of adjustments to be so successful yesterday, because they were anticipating all along to be playing the national anthem. But they were throwing a curveball, and they were told 2 weeks ago, I believe, that they had to learn the Venezuelan national anthem. Well, show of hands, how many people have ever heard that? Okay. Well, they practiced diligently for 2 weeks, and I guarantee you they were primed to play that yesterday. They showed up in front of 40,000 people, and they were throwing a curveball, weren't they? All right. And to be in the major leagues, you got to be able to hit a curveball. Well, they hit a curveball because instead of doing Venezuelan national anthem, they got to play our national anthem. So that was a curveball that they weren't anticipating, and they hit a home run. So I appreciate that. So I think that's a little known fact out there. And the other thing is, people have heard that I have a couple granddaughters, or a number of granddaughters. I have a grandson too. 2 of them attend Highland, and they celebrated Milford homecoming. And every day I got them on the bus, and every day they wore Milford stuff. So you are really getting the enthusiasm at a kindergarten through 5th grade level with all the things that you're doing. So that outreach is very positive, and every day they had Milford stuff on. So congratulations again. Seeing no other good and welfare.
Wait,
Yes.
You mentioned the Milford stuff, and I was driving through town on Sunday morning, and my son was with me, and I just happened to, we actually got one quick picture I wanted to share at some point, but yeah, I saw the kids doing the windows and stuff, and it's just cool to see that, that community togetherness.
Exactly. Next on the agenda is we're going to be adjourning to closed session. After closed session, we'll adjourn to go to closed session. We'll have a vote. After closed session, we'll adjourn and then open it up, our regular meeting up again, and close it immediately. There will not be any action done after the closed session. I always remind people that under the Open Meeting Act, we are permitted as a public body, such as a school district, to hold closed sessions for a few specific items. Tonight, we are going in closed session as it relates to attorney-client privilege. The Court of Appeals has ruled that public bodies is privileged to meet in closed session to discuss materials exempt from disclosure. Tonight's meeting is client privilege through our attorney, and that's the only item that will be discussed tonight. And with that, I will need to have a motion for us to go into closed session with a second and then a roll call.
I'll move that we go into closed session for the purpose of discussing an attorney-client document.
Do I have
I
a
will
second?
second.
All right, member Amy. Motion made by member Dodd, seconded by member Grzymkowski. Could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
She was thinking about it. Yeah, I'm a yes. Mr. Dimick
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With that, I adjourn our regular scheduled meeting to go into closed session.
So that's the time.